The night sky above the forgotten planet was heavy with stars. Commander Ryan stepped out from his landing craft, his boots sinking slightly into the dusty ground. The silence around him was so deep that even his breathing felt too loud. No wind moved, no sound of animals, no hum of machines, only emptiness. Ryan had traveled across many worlds before, but this place was different. The ruins of a massive alien structure rose like black teeth from the ground. Sharp and broken, he had studied the old star maps, the Forbidden's records, the half-burned journals of explorers long gone. They all spoke of this place, but none had returned to tell the whole story. As Ryan walked closer, his helmet light swept. Across carvings on the stone walls, the symbols twisted like fire and shadows. Shapes he could not understand. They seemed alive, moving slightly when he turned his head. He swallowed hard, his throat dry, but he kept moving forward. The entrance was like a wound in the earth, a deep crack leading inside. Every warning in his training told him not to go further, but curiosity was stronger. Human curiosity had always been both strength and curse, and tonight it pushed him into the unknown. Ryan's boots echoed as he stepped into the chamber. The air was heavy, thick with a smell like old metal and burning stone. The walls glowed faintly with red veins of light, pulsing slowly like a heartbeat. Each step he took seemed to wake something that had been sleeping for a very long time. He lifted his scanner, but the device only flickered with static. The signal failed, as if the room itself was swallowing the technology. Ryan frowned, tapping the screen, but it was useless. The chamber was beyond human science, beyond control. He whispered to himself, "Just a quick look, then I leave." But in his heart, he knew he would not leave so easily. The deeper he went, the louder his own heartbeat sounded in his ears. It felt like the ruins were listening, like unseen eyes were watching him. Suddenly, the ground shook beneath him. A deep vibration rolled through the walls. Dust fell from the ceiling, as if the place had awakened from centuries of sleep. Ryan froze, staring into the shadows ahead. Then a voice roared, not from one direction, but from everywhere. The walls, the air, even the ground itself spoke in a thunder that shook his bones. "Insolent human, you have entered the wrong orifice, one you have defiled." The words were filled with rage, with power, with ancient memory. Ryan stumbled back, his light shaking. He pointed it into the darkness, but there was no shape, no body, only the voice. The walls pulsed brighter, red veins glowing like fire. The chamber seemed alive, breathing, angry. His throat tightened, his mind raced. He wanted to run, but his legs refused to move. Every instinct screamed danger, but another voice in his mind whispered curiosity. Who was speaking? What was this place guarding? The voice boomed again, slower this time, like a warning. You step where your kind should never step. You walk where your kind once stole. You awaken what your kind tried to bury. Ryan licked his dry lips, trying to find words. "I mean no harm," he called, his voice breaking slightly. "I only came for knowledge, not for war, not for theft." The silence that followed was heavier than the voice itself. For a moment, Ryan thought he had angered the thing further. Then the ground shifted again, and the walls lit up with moving symbols. The carvings twisted and changed, forming scenes that told a story. Ryan's eyes widened as he watched. The pictures showed humans' figures like him, standing before alien beings. He saw gifts exchanged, then betrayal. He saw fire, war, and shadows falling across worlds. The voice thundered once more. Your kind came before, insolent and greedy. They defiled this chamber, they stole our heart, and now you come again. As if nothing was learned, Ryan's stomach turned cold. Ruins were not just ruins. They were a memory, a tomb, and a trial. And now he was inside it, trapped between history and judgment. He clenched his fists, whispering to himself, I am not like them. I am not here to steal. But even as he said it, he felt the walls. Closing in, the ruins were alive, and they were deciding his fate. The chamber began to shift, corridors opening and closing, the path behind him sealed with stone. The only way was forward, deeper into the heart of the ruins. Ryan took a breath, forcing his fear down. If he was to survive, if he was to prove that humans could be more than thieves and defilers, he had to face whatever waited in the shadows ahead. The ruins were awake now, and so was the guardian within. The first trial had only begun. Ryan's breath echoed inside his helmet, sharp and uneven. The walls of the ruin pulsed with red light, alive like veins under a skin. He turned slowly, searching for the source of the voice, but there was no figure, no shape. The words had come from everywhere at once, from the stone, from the air, from the silence itself. Insolent human. The voice boomed again, low and thunderous. You dare to walk where your kind once broke their word. You dare to touch the chamber of memory. You dare to awaken me. Ryan swallowed, his throat dry. Every muscle in his body wanted to run, but the path behind him was sealed with stone. The walls had shifted, closing off the way he came. Now there was only one way forward, deeper into the ruins. His helmet light swept across the carvings again. This time they were different. The alien symbols bent and twisted into clearer shapes. Humanoid figures, tall and glowing, stood over kneeling humans. Ryan's heart pounded. The story etched into the walls was not a welcoming tale. Who are you? Ryan whispered, his voice shaking. He didn't expect an answer, but the ruins seemed to hear. I am the guardian, the voice said, echoing like thunder across a canyon. The last memory of a people betrayed. I am voice without body, rage without rest, judgment without end. Ryan felt sweat drip down his temple beneath the helmet. He had studied hundreds of alien ruins in his career, but never had he heard a voice so powerful, so filled with anger. This was not a machine, not an echo of history. This was something alive, something awake, the guardian continued. Long ago, your kind stood in this chamber. They came with smiles, with words of peace, but they carried hunger inside their hearts. They reached for what was not theirs. And when they touched our heart, our light went dark. Ryan stared at the glowing veins in the stone. Your heart? He asked carefully. The red glow pulsed brighter, shaking the floor beneath him. Yes, the guardian thundered. Our heart of power, our source of life, taken by human hands. You call it artifact. You call it discovery, but we call it betrayal. Ryan's stomach twisted. He thought of the old journals, the rumors, the missing explorers. Had humanity really stolen something sacred from this place? If so, then his mission had already been cursed from the start. The guardian's voice lowered, but the power in it shook Ryan's bones. Your kind thinks time erases sins, but time does not forgive. Time remembers. I remember. The walls lit up brighter. Ryan could see new carvings form before his eyes. The scenes showed fire raining from the sky, alien cities crumbling, oceans boiling, and at the center of the destruction humans running with a glowing object in their hands. Ryan felt his chest tighten. He whispered, that wasn't me. That wasn't us. That was centuries ago. The guardian's voice shook the chamber again. One human is all humans. One betrayal is all betrayal. You carry their blood. You carry their hunger. You cannot escape it. The air grew heavier, pressing down on him. His scanner buzzed uselessly. No signals, no data, just static. The ruins rejected his tools. As if human science had no right here, Ryan forced his trembling hands to steady. He raised his voice, trying to sound calm. I am not here to steal. I came only to learn. I came alone, without soldiers, without weapons. I only want to understand. The silence that followed was so thick it felt alive. For a moment, Ryan thought the guardian would crush him where he stood. Then the voice spoke again, slower, deeper. Words. Your kind always had words, but words are air. And air dies. You will not leave this chamber on words alone. The ground rumbled beneath Ryan's boots. The carvings shifted once more, forming. A new scene. A maze of corridors and traps twisted before his eyes. Figures of humans were shown falling, crushed, burned, consumed. Ryan's blood ran cold. You will prove yourself, the Guardian said. You will walk the path of judgment. You will face what those before you faced. And if you fail, your bones will join theirs. Forever. Ryan's breath caught in his chest. He thought of the explorers who had never returned. Now he knew why. They had not simply vanished. They had been tested, and they had failed. The chamber floor cracked open with a roar. The stone shifted, opening a dark passage leading down into the earth. A hot wind blew from below, carrying a smell like ash and burned metal. Ryan's light flickered. Fighting against the shadows, he stared into the opening, his stomach sinking. The Guardian spoke again. Enter, human. Prove that you are not like those before. Prove that you are not hunger and flesh. If you survive, I may listen. If you fall, you'll be forgotten. Your screams will be dust. Ryan's heart pounded like thunder in his chest. He clenched his fists, fighting back the fear rising in his throat. This was no longer exploration, no longer curiosity. This was trial. This was survival. He stepped forward, the passage yawning. Wide like the throat of some giant beast, the walls around him glowed brighter. Almost watching, almost judging. 1 step, 2 steps, then the ground sealed behind him. The chamber closed, trapping him in the path of judgment. Darkness swallowed him whole. The only light came from his helmet, shaking with his unsteady breath. Somewhere deep below, he heard movement, stone grinding against stone, whispers sliding across the air. The ruins were alive, and they were waiting. Ryan took a final breath, whispering to himself, I am not like them. I will prove it. But even as he spoke, the shadows around him shifted, and he knew the ruins would not make it easy. The true trial had begun. The passage swallowed Ryan as he moved deeper into the earth. His helmet light flickered across the jagged stone, painting shadows that moved like living creatures. Every breath echoed back at him, louder than it should, as if the walls themselves were breathing with him. The deeper he went, the stronger the air smelled of metal, ash, and something older, something like dust from bones long forgotten. The floor was uneven, forcing him to step carefully. More than once his boots slipped on smooth stone, but he caught himself. Behind him the way had already sealed, and the thought pressed into his mind like a knife. There was no return. Only forward. The tunnel twisted and widened, until Ryan entered a vast chamber. His light struggled to reach the edges, but he could see carvings across the walls, far larger than before. The carvings pulsed faintly with the same red glow, alive and shifting, and Ryan realized they were not just images. They were stories. He stepped closer, his hand brushing the cold stone. The walls lit up brighter at his touch. Figures appeared alien. Beings, tall and slender, glowing with inner light. They stood like guardians of the universe, their hands stretched to the sky. Around them, planets spun, stars burned, galaxies bloomed like flowers. Ryan whispered under his breath, they were creators. But as soon as he spoke, the carvings twisted, the glowing figures bent, their light dimming, and then humans appeared on the walls. Small at first, but growing larger, bolder, louder. Ryan's stomach turned as he watched the story unfold. Humans reaching out their hands to the glowing beings, pretending friendship, gifts exchanged, symbols of peace carved in stone, but then betrayal. The humans snatched a bright core of light from the aliens. The walls shook faintly, as if the memory itself was angry. Ryan staggered back, heart pounding. The Guardian's voice boomed through the chamber. You see it now, human. The truth written in the bones of this place. Your kind took what was not theirs, and in their greed, they ended us. The chamber rumbled, dust falling from the ceiling. Ryan shouted, his voice trembling. That wasn't me. That wasn't all of us. His words bounced against the stone, but the guardian's silence pressed heavy against his chest. Ryan turned again to the walls. The story continued. He saw alien cities burning, oceans rising, the glowing beings fall into their knees as their light was ripped away. He saw humans leaving with the stolen core, faces lit by greed, and then the walls grew darker. A row of human skeletons appeared in the carvings, twisted, broken, scattered at the base of the alien ruins. Ryan froze, his breath sharp. These were not just carvings. They were real. At the base of the wall, half buried in dust, were bones. Human bones, long dead, their helmets cracked, their armor shattered, their fingers still stretched toward the exit that never opened. Ryan's chest tightened. He stepped closer, crouching, brushing the dust from a shattered helmet. The glass was broken, but inside he saw the skull. Grinning eternally, it was a human like him, one of the explorers who had come before. Ryan whispered, "They died here, the Guardians." Voice rolled again, heavy and merciless. They did not die. They were judged. They came as thieves, and thieves cannot leave. Their screams became dust. Their bones became warning. Ryan's hands trembled. He stared at the skeletons, counting at least 6, maybe more hidden under the debris, centuries old, yet preserved. In this tomb of stone, they had walked the same path he was walking now, and they had fallen. The walls glowed again, showing the last moments of these explorers, traps closing, flames bursting, corridors twisting until escape was impossible. Ryan's pulse hammered in his throat. This was not a ruin, not a temple. This was a machine built for judgment. The Guardian's voice dropped lower, almost a whisper now. "Do you still think? You are different, human? Do you still think you came only to learn? Those who said the same lie stand here still, their bones telling the truth." Ryan forced himself to his feet. He clenched his fists, shaking. "I will not end like them," he whispered. "I came for truth, not greed, and I will prove it." The chamber floor shifted again. A crack split the stone, opening another passage leading deeper. This time, Ryan felt heat rising from below. The air shimmered as if fire lived in the darkness ahead. He hesitated, staring down into the shadows. His mind screamed to stop, to turn back, but there was no way back. The bones behind him were a reminder if he stayed here, he would end the same way. The only choice was forward. He stepped toward the opening, but as he did, his boot struck something half buried. He knelt quickly, brushing away the dust. It was a book, burned, its cover blackened, but still intact enough to read faint markings. The writing was human. A journal. Ryan opened it carefully, the pages crumbling at the edges. Inside, words were scratched in hurried, desperate lines. The last entry froze his blood. "The voice will not let us leave. The walls are alive. The test is endless. If you find this, know we were fools. Do not follow." The page ended in a jagged tear, as if the writer had been ripped away mid-sentence. Ryan's hands shook, but he tucked the journal into his suit. The Guardian's voice rumbled once more. "Forward, human. The maze awaits. The judgment is not done." Ryan stared into the darkness ahead. His chest rose and fell in heavy breaths. He whispered, almost to himself, "Not fools, not thieves, not me." The heat of the passage licked at his face as he stepped inside. The walls sealed behind him with a heavy crash. He was trapped again. One direction only, deeper, always deeper. The light of his helmet caught the shimmer of moving stone. The labyrinth had awakened, somewhere. In the shadows, a sound rose. Not the voice, not stone, something else. Whispers, thousands of them. Human and alien voices together. Ryan froze. His breath caught in his throat. The whispers grew louder, circling him, filling the darkness, and he realized this maze was not empty. It was alive, and it was waiting for him. The passage closed behind Ryan with a thunderous crack. Stone grinding against stone sealed the way back, leaving him in total darkness. For a moment, only the sound of his own breathing filled the air, ragged and uneven. Then his helmet light flickered alive, casting a pale glow across the narrow corridor. The air was hotter here, thick and heavy. Every breath tasted of ash and iron. Ryan felt sweat gather at his temple, sliding down beneath his helmet. The walls around him pulsed faintly, alive with veins of red light, as if the ruins themselves were watching. He moved forward slowly, each step echoing like thunder in the silence. The ground beneath him was uneven, carved not by time but by intention. The further he walked, the more the corridor twisted, narrowing, widening, breathing, like the throat of some great beast. Every instinct screamed at him that he was no longer inside stone, but inside something alive. And the whispers began again, faint at first. They slithered across the walls like snakes, voices overlapping, hundreds, maybe thousands. Some sounded human, others alien. Some cried in pain, some begged for mercy. Ryan froze, his light sweeping across the walls. But there were no figures, only the sound of unseen souls. He clenched his jaw, forcing himself to move. "Not real," he whispered, his voice unsteady. "Not real, just echoes." But in his heart he wasn't sure. Suddenly, the corridor split into 3 paths, each one dark, each one breathing with that same faint pulse of light. The guardian's voice thundered above the whispers. "Choose, human. One path leads deeper. The others lead to death. Choose and prove you are not like those who came before." Ryan's chest tightened. It wasn't just a maze. It was a trial designed to break him. He studied the 3 paths, but they looked the same, dark, endless, waiting. He closed his eyes, steadying his breath. Logic told him there was no way to know, but instinct whispered otherwise. He stepped into the left passage, his boots echoing loudly. The whispers grew louder, harsher, until they became screams. The walls closed in tighter, pressing against his shoulders. The ground trembled, cracks glowing with fire beneath his feet. Then the floor gave way. Ryan shouted, leaping forward just as stone shattered behind him. Flames erupted from the chasm, swallowing the path he had just crossed. His heart pounded, breath sharp. If he had been a second slower, he would have fallen into fire. The guardian's voice rumbled. "Do you feel it now, human? The path is not for the weak. The path is not for thieves. Only the worthy may pass." Ryan forced himself onward. The corridor stretched longer, bending like the inside of a serpent. Symbols lit up along the walls as he passed, but instead of stories, they showed faces, human faces. Men and women, explorers like him, eyes wide in terror, mouths open in silent screams. Ryan staggered back, his chest tight, their faces pressed from the stone as if trying to escape. Their hands reached out, stretching from the walls. He lifted his arm to shield himself, his light flickering across twisted skulls frozen in rock. Were they memories? Or were they truly trapped here? The whispers turned to words. "Join us," they hissed. "You cannot escape. You cannot win. We thought the same. We died the same." Ryan shook his head violently, his voice breaking. "No, not me. I won't die here. I am not like you." He shoved forward, pushing past the hands, past the faces. The stone seemed to sigh as he moved. The path widened suddenly, opening into another vast chamber. But this chamber was different. At its center stood a massive pillar of stone, glowing with a blinding red heart of light. The heat burned his skin even through the suit. The guardian's voice thundered louder than ever. "This is the center of trial. The light you see is the reflection of what was stolen. Your kind tore it from us, but the shadow remains. To touch it is to face truth. Do you dare, human? Ryan stared at the pillar, sweat running down his back. The light pulsed like a living heart. Each beat shook the ground. He felt drawn to it, like gravity pulling him closer. But every step sent fire into his veins. The whispers screamed in his ears. Don't touch it. Don't look. Don't remember. Ryan gritted his teeth. He forced himself forward. Step by step, the air grew hotter, heavier. His knees shook. His chest heaved, but he reached the pillar. Lifting his trembling hand, the moment his fingers brushed the light, the world exploded. He was no longer in the chamber. He stood in the past. The sky burned above him. Alien cities crumbled, oceans boiled. He saw humans, hundreds of them, dragging the glowing core away while the alien beings fell, their light fading, their screams echoing across the stars. Ryan shouted, "No, that can't be all of us. That can't be the whole truth." But the vision grew sharper. He saw explorers smiling as they betrayed. He saw leaders commanding them. He saw greed carved into every face. The Guardian's voice cut through the fire. Do you deny it, human? Do you deny what is written in the blood of your kind? Ryan fell to his knees, gripping his head. No, not deny. But not all of us. Not me. The vision shattered. He was back in the chamber, gasping, sweat pouring down his face. The pillar still burned. But now the carvings along its base shifted. Instead of humans stealing, he saw humans standing against humans. Some betrayed, but some resisted. Some tried to stop the theft. Ryan's chest rose in sharp breaths. The story was not one truth, but many. The Guardian's voice was softer now, but still thunderous. You see fragments. Perhaps you see what others refused. But words are still wind, human. The trial is not done. The maze waits still, and the maze hungers. The chamber shook violently. The ground splitting, corridors opened again, twisting in every direction like a serpent's coils. The whispers returned, louder than ever. Ryan stumbled. Clutching the wall, he realized with cold terror, this was only the beginning. The trial had much more to show him, and much more to take from him. He clenched his fists, forcing himself to stand. His voice cracked but strong. I will walk it. I will face it. I am not a thief. I am human. The walls pulsed in reply, glowing brighter. The corridors shifted again. Alive, waiting, Ryan stepped forward into the twisting dark. His light swallowed, his breath shaking. The labyrinth had opened its jaws, and now it would test him without mercy. The labyrinth swallowed Ryan deeper with every step. The walls shifted and breathed like a living thing, opening and closing with sounds of grinding stone. Sometimes the passages stretched wide, like the ribs of a giant beast. Other times they tightened until he had to turn sideways, scraping his suit against the walls. His helmet light shook with his unsteady breath, the glow bouncing across carvings that twisted into new shapes each time he blinked. The whispers never stopped. They moved with him, circling, rising, falling. Some begged for release. Some cried in agony. Others mocked him. You will die like us. They hissed, your bones will join ours. Ryan gritted his teeth, his jaw aching. I am not you, he whispered, though his voice shook. I will not end here. The ground sloped downward, pulling him deeper into the belly of the ruins. The air grew colder now, not hot like fire, but heavy with dampness. A strange smell clung to it, sharp and bitter, like rusted metal and rotting flesh. Ryan's stomach tightened, his instincts screaming danger. At last, the passage opened into a massive chamber. Ryan froze at the threshold, his breath catching in his chest. Before him stretched rows of bones, dozens, maybe hundreds of skeletons, human skeletons, lying broken across the stone floor. Some wore cracked helmets, others still had fragments of armor. The dust of centuries covered them, but their twisted positions told the story clearly. Desperation, fear, hopeless struggle. Ryan stepped forward. his boots crunching over brittle remains. He tried not to look down, but the empty sockets of skulls stared up at him. Hollow, accusing, his chest tightened as he realized these were the explorers who had come before. Not myths, not lost travelers, but humans, trapped, judged, and executed by the labyrinth. The guardian's voice thundered across the chamber. Behold the truth, human. Your kind has walked these halls before, again and again. Each one claimed innocence. Each one claimed they were different, but each one carried hunger in their heart. And so they fell. Ryan clenched his fists, staring at the endless bones. No, he said, his voice cracking but loud. Not all of them, not every single one was greedy, not everyone a thief. The walls pulsed red, symbols etching themselves across the stone. Scenes formed humans fighting, some dragging the glowing core away, their faces full of triumph and greed. But others stood against them. They reached for the core too, but not to steal, to stop the thieves. Ryan's eyes widened as he stepped closer. Yes, he whispered. Some tried to stop it, the guardian's voice rumbled. Less thunder now, more like an endless growl. Fragments of truth, but fragments do not erase betrayal. The wound remains, the theft remains. The end of my people remains. Ryan shook his head. But it shows not all humans are the same. Some resisted, some tried to do what was right. And I will prove I am one of them. The chamber shook violently. Bones scattering across the floor. Some skeletons broke apart under the vibration, their pieces rolling into cracks. The whispers rose into screams. You lie, you lie. Ryan stumbled back, his helmet light flashing across the far wall. And there, half buried under collapsed stone, he saw something different. Not bones, not carvings, but a body, not human. He rushed closer, his breath sharp. It was an alien skeleton, massive, tall even in death, its bones curved and strange. Its chest cavity was cracked open, ribs shattered outward, as if something had been torn from inside. Ryan stared, trembling. This was one of the glowing beings. The creators, and its heart, its core, had been ripped out. The guardian's voice fell into a whisper, low and heavy. You see the wound. You see what was taken. This was not just power, not just an artifact. It was life. It was soul. Your kind tore the heart of my people, and with it, tore the stars from our sky. Ryan's knees weakened. He pressed a hand to the stone, staring at the broken skeleton. For a moment, he could almost hear its last scream, echoing across centuries. His stomach twisted with guilt. Though he had not been there, the weight of his species pressed down on his shoulders like chains. But then his eyes caught something else. Near the alien's broken hand lay a small, rusted object. Ryan bent, brushing away the dust. It was human-made, a data recorder, cracked but intact enough to hold memory. He lifted it carefully, staring. One of the dead explorers must have left it here, dropped in their final moments. He activated it, and a faint hologram flickered. A face appeared, tired, desperate, broken. A human explorer, speaking in a weak voice. We didn't all agree. Some of us tried to return it, tried to give it back, but they wouldn't listen. The Guardian, it doesn't care. It sees all of us as one. If anyone finds this, know the truth. Not all of us are thieves. Not all of us. The hologram cut out, the signal dying with a final spark. Ryan's throat tightened. He clutched the recorder close. Proof, real proof, that others before him had tried to resist, had tried to do the right thing, but the labyrinth had judged them the same as the guilty. The Guardian's voice roared suddenly, shaking the chamber. Lies, fragments, excuses. Truth is in the bones beneath your feet. Your kind came as thieves, and thieves you remain. Ryan shouted back, his voice shaking but fierce. No! Truth is not so simple. There is guilt. Yes, but there is also innocence. You cannot judge all by the crimes of some. The walls pulsed violently, the chamber cracking. Flames erupted from fissures. smoke rising, the bones scattered like leaves in a storm. The whispers screamed louder than ever. Ryan fell to one knee, covering his ears. But even through the chaos, he held the recorder tight, refusing to let go. The Guardian's voice thundered over the storm. "You speak boldly, human, but words will not save you. If you believe your kind holds innocence, you must prove it. The path ahead is not judgment of words, but judgment of choice." The chamber split open, the floor tearing apart to reveal two paths. On one side, fire burned endlessly. On the other, shadows stretched like claws. Whispering promises of safety, the Guardian's voice growled, "One path will test your courage. The other will test your loyalty. Choose wrongly, and you will join the bones. Choose, human, and face the truth of what you are." Ryan stared at the paths, sweat pouring down his face. The recorder felt heavy in his hand, the voices of the dead pressing into his mind. He knew now the labyrinth was not only punishing him, it was forcing him to carry the weight of all humanity. One wrong choice, and the Guardian would mark all humans as guilty forever. His breath came fast, shallow, the fire roared. The shadows whispered. The bones rattled at his feet as if waiting for him to join them. Ryan clenched his fists, his voice low but steady. "I will walk, I will prove, and I will not fail." He stepped forward, his boots striking the first stone of the trial's next path. The walls pulsed, the whispers rose, and the labyrinth sealed him in, ready to show him a truth darker than any he had seen before. The ground trembled under Ryan's boots as the two paths opened before him. On the left, fire roared, the heat so intense it blistered the air. On the right, shadows stretched, cold and whispering, their voices soft and tempting. Each path pulsed with the same faint red glow, the heartbeat of the ruins, alive, watching, judging. Ryan stood frozen between them, his chest heaving, sweat ran down his back. His grip tight on the cracked recorder he had found. The words of the dying explorer still echoed in his ears. "Not all of us are thieves, not all of us." But the Guardian's booming voice drowned them out. "Choose, human. One path will test your courage, the other your loyalty. But both lead to truth, and truth cannot be escaped." Ryan's eyes flicked between the two paths. The fire hissed like a living beast, promising agony and destruction. The shadows whispered like a lover, promising safety, escape, an end to pain. His heart pounded in his chest. Was there even a correct choice? Or was the labyrinth designed only to destroy him, no matter what he chose? He whispered to himself, "I will not be like them. I will not die like them." His voice shook, but his steps carried him forward, toward the fire. The heat scorched his skin, even through the protective suit. His helmet fogged with sweat. Every breath burned his lungs. The stone cracked under his boots, glowing with molten veins of lava. Ryan clenched his teeth and pushed forward. Step by step, the fire roared higher, sparks bursting like claws reaching. For him, behind him, the Guardian's voice rolled through the chamber. "You walk the path of fire. Few choose it. Fewer survive it. Will you burn, human? Or will you rise from the flame?" Ryan forced his legs to keep moving, the recorder clutched tight in his hand. His vision blurred from heat, his throat raw. He stumbled, nearly falling, but caught himself. Every instinct screamed at him to turn back, to run into the cool embrace of the shadows, but something deeper inside held him steady. A voice, not the Guardian's, not the whispers, but his own. Better to burn for truth than to live in lies. The fire swirled higher, twisting into shapes. Ryan gasped. He saw human figures inside the flames, explorers, soldiers, leaders, their faces twisted in agony. Some screamed as they reached for the glowing core. Others smiled even as fire consumed them. The flames whispered in voices he knew were not real, but felt like they belonged to him. "You will take it too, Ryan. You will carry it back. You will be like us, Ryan's knees buckled. He fell against the wall, the recorder pressing hard into his palm. "No," he shouted, his voice breaking. "I am not you. I am not them. I came for truth, not power." The flames screamed, swirling tighter. The figures stretched long arms toward him, their faces now melting, skulls grinning through the fire. Ryan pushed himself up, staggering forward. Each step was pain, each breath was fire. But he did not stop. At last, the flames parted. The path opened into another chamber, larger than any before. The air cooled instantly, the silence pressing heavy. Ryan staggered inside, falling to his knees, gasping, his body trembling. His helmet light flickered, dim but enough to see. At the center of the chamber stood an altar. On the altar rested a glowing object. Ryan froze, his heart stopping. It was the artifact, the stolen core, the heart of the alien people, pulsing with endless red light. It was beautiful, terrible, alive. Every beat echoed in Ryan's bones, shaking his very soul. He felt his body pulled toward it, his hand trembling with desire. The whispers returned, softer now, gentler. "Take it, Ryan. It belongs to you. Your kind has already taken it once. Why not again?" Ryan stumbled forward, his breath heavy, his eyes fixed on the core. The power within it burned with eternity. With it, he could save worlds, build empires, rewrite history. With it, humanity would rise. But with it, humanity would also be damned. The Guardian's voice thundered. "At last, human, you stand where your kind once stood. The heart lies before you. Will you take it for yourself, as they did? Or will you return it and end what they began?" Ryan trembled. He looked at the recorder in his hand. The dying explorer's words echoed again. "Not all of us are thieves. Not all of us." Tears burned his eyes. He thought of Earth, of the endless hunger of humanity. He thought of greed, disguised as progress, of conquest, disguised as exploration. He thought of himself, standing here alone, carrying the weight of his entire species. His knees shook as he reached for the artifact. The light burned brighter, his hand quivering inches. From its surface, the whispers screamed louder. "Take it! Take it! Take it!" But another voice inside, quiet and steady, rose against them. "No, not me. Not this time." Ryan lowered the recorder onto the altar. Beside the core, "I will not take, I will give back," he whispered, his voice breaking. The moment the recorder touched the altar, the chamber shook. The flames outside roared, then died. The shadows that had whispered vanished. The whispers of the dead fell silent. For the first time since entering the labyrinth, there was silence. True silence. The core pulsed brighter, brighter, until Ryan had to shield his eyes. The Guardian's voice filled the chamber, but it was different now, softer, though still vast. "You return what was stolen. You resist what was offered. You choose against hunger, perhaps. You are not like the others." Ryan collapsed to his knees, exhausted, trembling. His chest heaved, his body drenched in sweat. But inside, something heavy had lifted. For the first time, he felt the ruins, watching not with rage, but with something else. Curiosity, maybe even respect. But then the voice grew darker again. "Do not think this ends, human. One act cannot erase centuries of betrayal. One choice cannot cleanse the blood of your kind. But perhaps it can be the first step." Ryan raised his head slowly, his eyes meeting the pulsing core. The light seemed calmer now, steady, not angry, not burning. He whispered, "If I must be the first step, then so be it." The chamber trembled once more, and the altar split in two. The floor cracked, opening a path downward, deeper still. Ryan staggered to his feet. The core remained on the altar, untouched, its glow soft. But the path ahead demanded more. The Guardian's voice rumbled, "You have chosen to return, but the labyrinth is not finished with you. One trial remains. One truth must still be faced. The final truth." Ryan took a deep, shaking breath. He clenched his fists, whispering to himself, I came for truth. I will face it all. I will not fail. And with that, he stepped into the darkness of the final path. The walls sealed behind him. The whispers gone, the air still. Ryan's footsteps echoed into silence as he descended into the heart of the ruins. Where the last judgment waited, the descent swallowed Ryan in silence. The air was colder now, sharp as knives against his skin. His helmet light cut through the dark, but the walls no longer pulsed red. They were black, endless, like the ribs of something long dead. For the first time since entering the labyrinth, there were no whispers, no screams, no fire, no shadows, only silence, heavy and suffocating. Ryan's boots echoed against the stone, a sound too loud, too final. He gripped his fists, each step carrying him deeper into the unknown. Finally, the tunnel opened into a vast chamber unlike any he had seen before. The walls stretched high, curving into darkness, and at the center stood a single figure, not carved in stone, not light without form, but a body massive alien, alive. Ryan froze, his breath caught in his chest. The figure towered over him. At least 3 times his height, its skin shimmered faintly, cracked like broken glass. Its chest glowed faintly where ribs had once been shattered. Eyes burned with dim red light. Staring down at him, the Guardian, it was not just a voice, not just memory. It was alive, broken, but alive, kept breathing by the labyrinth itself. Ryan's knees weakened as the truth pressed into his mind. The Guardian was not simply protecting ruins. The Guardian was the ruins. The voice thundered, shaking the chamber. At last, you see me, human. You see what your kind left behind. I am not only memory, not only rage. I am the last of my people, bound in stone, bound in fire, kept alive by hate. Ryan's throat tightened. He took a trembling step forward. You're alive, he whispered. The Guardian's laugh rolled across the chamber, hollow and bitter. Alive, but not living. Breathing, but not free. I am wound, I am scar, and I am your final trial. The ground shook violently. The chamber split into patterns of light. Scenes unfolded around Ryan. Humans standing with aliens, smiling, shaking hands. Then humans betraying them, stealing the core, slaughtering without mercy. The screams filled the chamber once more. Ryan clutched his head, his body shaking. Stop, he cried, but the Guardian's voice grew louder. No, human, you must see it all. You must face what you are. Ryan fell to his knees as the visions grew stronger. He saw Earth's leaders long ago, giving the order. He saw explorers smiling as they left the aliens to die, but he also saw something else. Small groups of humans fighting back, trying to stop the theft. Some died with the aliens. Standing beside them, some turned their weapons against their own kind, refusing to be part of betrayal. Ryan's eyes widened through the tears burning his face. Yes, he whispered, that's the truth. Not all of us, not every one of us. Some tried to save you. The Guardian's massive form leaned closer, its red eyes burning. And yet you are here, alone, carrying their guilt. Why should I believe you? Why should I allow you to leave when their bones still rot in my halls? Ryan's chest heaved, his fists clenched. Because I chose differently. I faced the fire. I refused the shadows. I gave back what was stolen. And I will give back again. I cannot change the past, but I can change what comes next. The chamber fell silent. The visions froze. The Guardian stared at him for a long moment. Then slowly it lifted its massive hand. In its palm rested the artifact, the glowing heart. The same core Ryan had left on the altar, now pulsing brighter than before. Guardian's voice rumbled low. This is your final test, human. Take it, and all power is yours. Worlds will kneel. Stars will burn at your command. Return it, and you may leave, but your kind will know nothing, gain nothing. Your sacrifice will be forgotten. Your choice will echo not for you, but for them. Ryan's heart thundered in his chest. The whispers returned, stronger than ever. Take it, Ryan. Save your world, save your people. No one will know, no one will blame you. You can be the hero of humanity. His hand trembled, reaching forward. The heat of the core seared his skin, even from a distance. He felt its pull, its power flooding his veins. Visions filled his mind. Humanity rising. Earth no longer weak. Armies stronger than any alien race. Empires across the stars. He saw himself at the center. The man who had brought the power back. He gasped, his hand inches away. But then another vision struck him. Not empires, but ashes. Not heroes, but conquerors. Not peace, but endless war. The same betrayal, repeated again and again, until nothing remained. Ryan's chest tightened, his breath sharp, his eyes stung with tears. He pulled his hand back. No, he whispered. I will not damn us again. He dropped to his knees before the Guardian, his hands open, empty, his voice cracked but strong. I will not take, I will not carry hunger. I will give back, always give back. Even if no one remembers, even if it costs me everything. The chamber exploded with light. The artifact rose from the Guardian's palm. Floating above Ryan, the ruins trembled, their veins glowing brighter. The bones scattered through the labyrinth dissolved into dust. The whispers fell silent forever. The Guardian's massive form leaned back. Its red eyes dimmed, softening. Its voice no longer thundered. It spoke almost like a sigh. Human, for the first time in endless centuries, one of you has chosen to give, not to take. One of you has chosen sacrifice over hunger. Perhaps there is hope. The core pulsed once more, then shattered into light. The fragments rose into the air, swirling like stars. They sank into the walls, into the floor, into the Guardian itself. Its cracked chest glowed whole again, the light spreading. Through its body, the ruins themselves glowed with new life. Ryan shielded his eyes as the light burned brighter. When he lowered his arm, the Guardian stood taller, stronger, but its eyes were no longer red. They were golden, calm, endless. The voice spoke one last time. You are insolent. Human, but not hopeless. Go now and carry this truth with you. Your kind may yet learn, or your kind may yet burn. The choice is not mine anymore. It is yours. The ground shook gently. The chamber split open, revealing a path leading upward. A bright glow shone from above. Ryan staggered to his feet, his body trembling. He turned once more, staring at the Guardian. It stared back, silent, waiting. He whispered, "Thank you." Then he walked into the light. The ruins faded behind him. The whispers gone, the fire gone, the shadows gone. Only silence and stars above. Ryan stood alone on the surface of the forgotten world. The night sky stretched endlessly. He took a deep breath. He had survived. But more than survival, he had changed. And he knew one truth above all. The test was not over. The real test would begin when he returned to humanity, when he told them what he had chosen, and when they decided if they could follow or betray. Again, the stars above flickered, silent witnesses. Ryan clenched his fists, his eyes hard. I will make them see, he whispered, and with that, he stepped toward his ship, carrying the weight of humanity's future on his shoulders.